What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now today I've got a very special video for you guys today, because this is a behind the scenes on how I do my starting grids for my recreation videos. Now some of you might remember that's been subscribed to the channel since 2020 I believe. I did this before, so this is not the first time I've done this video, but I did take it down because I felt like at the time my recreations were still in an early stage and I didn't want to give too much away. But now, since we've got a brand new F1 World mode coming out in the next few weeks, which is pretty much based on the recreation videos, be able to recreate the start of a Grand Prix, I thought what better time to finally put this out and keep it up forever, because it's going to be an end of an era for myself. I've done my recreation videos this way for a long time now, and due to this F1 World mode now coming into the F1 games, this means my life will be a lot more easier and I won't have to do my grids the way I'm going to be showing you in this video today. So yeah, let's get started then. So I first of all do my setups and get ready to go there. I check the race director as well, because this can play a key part in making my life difficult or easy for this particular session. Now for example, for this video we've got Valtteri Bottas who lines up last with Kevin Magnussen ahead of him. Now due to the way the race director system works, it goes by numbers from lowest to highest. So for this instant, Valtteri Bottas is right at the bottom of the race director because he's number 77. Kevin Magnussen, who lines up P19 on the grid ahead of Bottas, is P20 in the race director, so he's a lot further up. But we've got Nick de Vries, who's the car ahead of Magnussen. He's number 21, so he's a number behind Kevin Magnussen, which is annoying for this particular part, because what this means is I can just focus on Bottas and Magnussen, just taking both of them out instantly the second I see them. Doesn't matter if it's Magnussen first or Bottas, due to the way the system works and making sure they don't get a lap time in, I'll just take both those drivers out instantly and they'll line up P20 and 19. And now, after we've done that, is we now have to start focusing on another 3 drivers, which is the harder part, and it can be down to luck and just trying to time it perfectly. But I've done it for a very long time now, so I know what I'm doing here. So really what we're doing is we're waiting for them to all go round, and sometimes it's not even de Vries that'll be first on the scene. It could be Guan Yu Zhou or Yuki Tsunoda in this instant, and what we do is we hold the drivers up. For example, if it's Tsunoda, I will hold him up a slight bit, making sure he's slow enough to just be slower than the rest of the pack. With some other drivers being at different parts of the circuit, I might need to act a little bit different with how I play about with them pretty much on the circuit. So for example, we've got de Vries here, who's supposed to be the slowest, so I'll take care of him first by pushing him off the track and letting him complete his lap, and then as we go round we wait for Guan Yu Zhou, who's the final car we need to muck about with here. And by the time I've done that, we should have the grid of Bottas, Magnussen, de Vries, Guan Yu Zhou and Yuki Tsunoda. And once we've done that, and I've checked them all over many times and saved, just double checking everything is going to plan, then I'll take the drivers out on their in laps. So it doesn't matter what order, as I said before, they'll still end up in the position they are, but just DNF'd from the session. So sometimes it can be a pain to take them out, because my car can get damaged as well, which is very frustrating, and it can take many attempts to get it perfect. But once they've done all that, I take the drivers out on their in laps. I double check the race director to see where they all are, and as you can see there, we have the grid of Tsunoda, Guan Yu Zhou, de Vries, Magnussen and Bottas, who are all DNF from the session. We don't need to worry about them now. But this is the part where I like to have fun, because now it's my turn to drive around the track. So I need to just fully send it, make sure I'm the fastest of the session, or just quicker than the times Tsunoda has, so I can get through into this second session. So I like to cut all the corners, just have a little bit of fun on my lap, and then I double check once again, everything's going to plan, making sure there's not little stupid glitches or anything like that. Save the session, return to garage, skip to the end of the session, and there you go, that is Q1 done. So now we move on to Q2, and we have a very similar situation to what we had in Q1. So you can see here, there's the list of drivers on the right of your screen we need to pay attention to for this session. And we have Sergio Perez, who is P15 with Logan Sargent ahead of him. Luckily for us, we have Sergio Perez, who is number 11, and Logan Sargent, who is number 2. Now if you remember what I told you in the last qualifying session, due to the way the race director system works, I can take both drivers out and they will line up where they are pretty much. So Sargent will always be ahead of Perez as long as he doesn't set a lap time. which I did take out very early on in the session because he was one of the first drivers to approach us, leaving us with 3 other drivers to take care of, which was Ocon, Stroll and Hulkenberg. I took care of Stroll there because he was one of the first 3 to approach us on a lap. Next was Nico Hulkenberg, who we took care of as well, slowing him right down but making sure we don't slow him too much so he doesn't go behind Lance Stroll. I do a bunch of saving as well. I always make sure to do a mid-session save in case anything goes wrong. I'll be able to just go again at that certain point, and also checking the lap times to see what we're dealing with as well, so knowing how much I need to slow down Ocon on his final run pretty much. And then once Stroll came round on his in lap, I took him out and that was him completely out for the session. Next up was Perez actually, because he came out a lot later into the session, which was very annoying, but it is what it is, and that's him out of the session just like that. Next would be Nico Hulkenberg to approach us, which he did here, and obviously we just did our business and then bang, off he goes. That's it, we're looking not too bad here. Then the final one was Esteban Ocon. He was, I think, last out of all the runners for this session, which was quite frustrating to wait on. And as Ocon goes into his final run, we push him off the track. Doesn't matter about our front wing, we can get that repaired anyway. He is the slowest out of the 3 drivers. We need to make sure set a lap time, and we just need to make sure he is the slowest out of them all. Once we've done that successfully, we'll cross the line. First thing we do is we go to the race director to see where the lap times landed him, and as you can see there, he has landed behind Lance Stroll, and that gives us an order of Hulkenberg, Stroll, Ocon, Sargent and Perez. And obviously the last thing I need to do is just take Ocon out, just like that, and then voila, there you go. That is how we do the grid for the second qualifying session. So I'll be off to set my lap time and make sure I'm ahead of all these drivers, because you know we don't want ourselves going out in Q2, that would be a complete shambles. And once I've done that, sometimes I will look at the race director and go, well, we've got another driver that we can take care of because they've set a faster lap time than our 3 drivers we've slowed down. Now for this example, Pierre Gasly lines up P10 on the grid ahead of Hulkenberg. You can see on the race director here, he is P7, with Fernando Alonso who is P4, but Fernando Alonso lined up P9 on the grid. So what we can actually do here, go back to the garage, get the wing repaired, head back out in the remaining 3 minutes of the session, as that's normally when the AI go back out anyway, depending on what track you're at. And sometimes, depending on what driver goes out, I can actually take another driver out and add another driver to that list of DNFs, and pretty much just give myself less work to do for the third qualifying session. And you can see here, Gasly, who lines up P10 on the grid, has set obviously a quicker lap time than the other drivers I was taking care of a lot earlier on. Unfortunately, not many drivers came out at the end of Q2, so it would have been handy if Alonso came out, because I could have got another driver to take out as well. But there you go, Gasly taken out, and because he set a lot faster lap time, it means when I take him out, he will DNF and go right down to P10, leaving me with less stress in the third qualifying session, so I can take care of lesser drivers and get the grid a lot faster without any pain. So yeah, so once I've done that, I check to make sure Gas is completely out, just double checking everything before we go ahead, and there you go. There is how I've done the second qualifying session before we advance to Q3 with Gasly, Hulkenberg, Stroll, Ocon, Sargent and Perez. And now as we move on to Q3, we've got a completely different scenario compared to Q1 and 2. This time I've got to take care of 9 drivers, and one of them right now I've just taken care of, which is Fernando Alonso, because technically it doesn't matter where any of the AI are on the race director, I can just take that one particular driver out, and that's just one taken care of instantly. It would come in handy if some other drivers were ahead of others in the race director section, but you know, sometimes I get lucky and sometimes I don't, and just this occasion there's just one driver. So we get started here, and the first driver to approach us was George Russell. We just do our bit and slow him down as much as we can. So really, George Russell is the benchmark here we need to look after, and I believe he was P6 on the grid, so he's sort of in the middle between where we want everyone to be. And then the next driver we've got approaching us is Lando Norris. So he lines up P2 on the grid, but what we're going to do here is we let him go, because we'll be able to beat his lap time anyway. So Norris can take care of his own lap. Approaching us after Norris was Carlos Sainz, so he started ahead of George Russell in P5. So this is where it gets a little bit harder. We've just got to slow him down a little bit more and just make sure it's not too slow, so he does go ahead of George Russell. Behind Sainz came Alex Albon, and he is the slowest out of all the runners who have to set a lap time. So you know by now the main thing we need to do here is make sure Albon is the slowest out of all the runners that set the lap time. And then obviously I do my mid-session save as well in case anything goes wrong. And we go through Maggots and Beckett's here, slowing him right down again. But what we're going to do is into this next corner here, we're going to completely run him off the track, which we're going to do here. damaging our front wing, a little bit there but not too much, and then what he'll do is, if he doesn't hit the barriers, which would be handy, he'll run off the track, take his time and go on to finish his lap, and that should be about 20 seconds slower than the other drivers. Now George Russell sets the fastest lap there, and then I'm expecting Lando Norris to go quicker, which he does, and then we let Piastri go as well, because on driver stats Piastri is normally a lot slower than Norris, so we can rely on Piastri to slot in behind Norris. And I also checked on the leaderboard at the side to see Sainz was ahead of Russell, leaving us with Norris, Sainz, Russell currently. And as we wait to see what Piastri does as he crosses the line, we are holding up Charles Leclerc, which we need to do as well. He lines up P4 on the grid. Piastri crosses the line with Albon going past us there, eventually completing his lap. We check the race director to see we have now Lando Norris, Piastri, Leclerc, Sainz, Russell, and then obviously the only driver we need to take care of now is Lewis Hamilton, who was fast approaching us actually. And you can see as he was approaching us where he is going sideways, slamming on the brakes, trying to slow him down before he got to the line, because if he did make it to the line he would slop up to the front pretty much, and we don't want that. And as he does cross the line, he goes a lot slower than his teammate George Russell, and that is what we want to see, because he is slower than George and he's ahead of Alex, which we've made sure about that. Now all we are left to do now is just check to see if the order is correct, which it is, and we just need to go and do what we do best and just go absolutely crazy on our final lap and just fully send it to make sure we're the fastest driver out of all the drivers we have in this session. And as we cross the line, that is us P1, slotting us into the perfect position is where we want to be for this clip. So what I do here again, checking the race director to make sure we've got the exact order, and there you are guys, we have Fernando Alonso, Alex Albon, Lewis Hamilton, George Russell, Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc, Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris and myself, Max Verstappen P1, which is exactly how the order is supposed to be. Now in this circumstance you've noticed, you've probably seen me not take any drivers out, which is the hardest part because I can't take everyone out while I'm trying to focus on other drivers, because there's a lot more drivers to take care of in Q3. But what I do is, once I've completed my lap and AI are back in the pits, I will now reverse back down the pit lane. Now depending on what pit lane it is, I might not always go too far back to where I am in this video, because sometimes some of the pit lane lines will teleport you back onto the track. And then I'll just wait at the end at the pit lane as much as I can, go as far back as I possibly can. And because obviously the way the AI are in the pit lane, they'll all line up behind each other, and because I'm blocking the pit exit, they won't actually go through me. You'd think they would, but actually I think they do, but a little bit further on into the pit lane, but because where I'm parked, they will stay behind me, and that blocks everyone from getting out the pit lane to do a lap and go a lot quicker than where they should be pretty much. And all I need to do is just wait there until the session hits 0, and there you go guys, that is how I managed to get my grids for my recreation videos. Now as you can see, it is not easy, and I've had to do this for a very long time now. I believe I've been doing it this way since 2018, when I started to get a bit more realistic with the grid scenario, not just caring where everyone is. And by watching this video, if you want to try this out for yourself, I advise you to do so if you want to, because you know it won't matter anyway in the next few weeks, because with the F1 mode coming out, this will become a completely irrelevant situation to do, because you'll have the grid right there on your doorstep pretty much. So it's very sad to see me end it in this way, but there's a famous saying in the world where it's all good things come to an end. And that's what we're witnessing here today, and that's why I'm showing you guys a behind the scenes on how I do this. So there you go guys, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below if you're surprised this is the way I do it, but unfortunately this is the best way I can do it. I can't do it any other way until I get this mode in a few weeks. But yeah guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to help me reach my current goal of 80,000 subscribers. We're nearly there guys, so if you could subscribe to the channel, that would be very much appreciated. So yeah, take care now, and I will see you guys in my next video.